Hi, everyone. You know, data visualizations, they are really nice. They can communicate a lot of things in, well, visual ways. And that can communicate a lot more than, for example, words or just like pure data table. So yeah, let's agree that they are nice. But what if you or your user can't actually see that data visualization? Or what if that's the only way the data is communicated, or the information in those data visualizations is communicated? Or what if you or your user just doesn't really understand what's going on in those data visualizations? Or what if some parts of the data is hidden behind some sort of interactions, like, for example, like touch interactions, like dragging a finger or other pointer input around, and only with that it's possible to get some pieces of information. And okay, then there is another question. If you or your user can't actually use your finger or other type of pointer input for that. So there are actually problems with data visualizations. And today we are going to talk about how to improve some of them. We are not going to solve everything in the context of this talk, but at least some of these issues. And so, yeah, hi, my name is Eeva-Jonna Panula, or Eevis Panula, and I'm accessibility specialist and senior Android developer. I come from Finland. It's that really beautiful northern country. I highly recommend visiting if you never have. And I'm also Women Tech Makers ambassador. And I really love to share what I've learned. So I've write a blog. There's going to be a link to that one later or at the end of this talk. And I speak at different events. I'm here today. And I myself, I'm a disabled person. And when I'm not doing something work related, I explore the beautiful, beautiful Finnish nature, either by foot or by kayak. And I also picked something new last year, so I can say I'm a golfer. So that's been surprisingly nice, actually. I had some prejudices, but that's been fun, actually. And in the picture, you can see, it's taken on one of my trips that I made last year. It's from one of the Finnish national parks called Kolovesi National Park. It's the home for Saimaa ringed seal, which is one of the rare species of seals in the world. And in the picture, there's the nose of my kayak, which is mostly white, and then there's some pink, and then there's lots of stuff on the deck. The water, which takes almost all the space in the picture, it's almost still. Then at the background, there are some hills with forest, and then the sky, it's it's clear, almost clear, with a couple of clouds there. So yeah, that's about me and what I wanted to say. And now that's out of the way, we can get to the actual talk and what we are going to improve. So I built an app, like an example app for this talk, or actually for the blog posts that I first wrote and then came this talk. But here's an example app. It's a one screen app, or it has one screen, and it has a title that says percentage of women applicants in Finnish higher education per year. Under that, there is a graph that, or line chart that has years from 2015 until 2023 on x-axis, and on y-axis there are percentages from 18 to 34. And it has three different lines. One is communicating all applicants in engineering and ICT. Then other one is about engineering degrees. And then the third one is information and communication technology. so ICT. And even though the title says that percentage of women applicants in Finnish higher education per year, it's not everything. It's just these like two fields, so engineering degrees and information and communication technology. And then in the graph, there is on the bottom right corner, there's a sort of legend or label telling the exact percentages per year. And I'm gonna play the video here. So what you can see here is that when user drags their finger or other pointer input around, they can see actually the numbers for each year there. And this app, it has some problems. As you might guess from the intro, one of the problems is that some of the information is actually hidden behind some interaction, so the labels are not visible without being able to actually, drag around there, like with a pointer input. And then another problem that we're gonna look into in the context of this talk is that this graph is not available, or any of its data is not available for anyone with screen reader. So if they are using a screen reader, so for example, TalkBack, which is the most popular screen reader for Android, they even don't know that there is a graph. I'm going to demonstrate that a bit later in the talk. It also has some other problems, but these are the ones that we are concentrating on. So what we are going to do, we are going to improve a couple of things. So we're going to add content descriptions, and we're going to add keyboard interactions. And as I mentioned about the blog posts, when I was saying something about the app, this talk is based on blog posts that I've written, and I will share a link to that, or like it's series of blog posts, and I will share a link to the latest one. And you're going to find all the code you can see here, and also link to the example app and its code from those blog posts. So no need to start writing down all the code, for example. And another thing that I want to mention before diving into the actual things is that what we are doing here, it's one approach, and it might work in your case, but it's also possible that the exact solution does not work in your case. So I actually hope that what you would remember here is more of the sort of the concepts than the every line of code that I'm showing, for example. So there's that. Okay, let's start with content descriptions. If you're now wondering what content descriptions are, well, they are, if you've ever heard the word text alternative or alt text, this is basically from the web world, and it's used in other places as well, but it's the same thing on Android, basically. It's textual or text alternative for visual elements, to put it simple. And for example, images and icons, they have this property that's called content description. And so it's easy to set to them. But if we have something more complex, then it needs, it's not so as straightforward to set them, but there are still ways, as you will see in a bit. So they're basically providing information that's visual to those who can't see the visuals or who need that in text format. So that's basically the idea behind content descriptions. And here I have an example of me using this app with TalkBack. I'm going to play the video in a second. I'm just going to explain a bit before that. So here I'm navigating from top to bottom linearly with TalkBack. And what's important here is that there is this orange focus indicator, which indicates where the focus currently is. And then actually, like in the bottom, you can see what talkback is like saying when I'm focusing on some elements. You probably won't hear the sound because of technical reasons, but it's not really important in this one. The more important is to follow that orange rectangle when it's going from item to item here. So I'm gonna play it. So yeah, basically it's like the focus went first to the title, and after that it went straight to the all applicants in engineering and ICT. So it skipped the whole graph completely. It's not available in any format right now for screen reader. And that's what we are going to improve here. And we like there are many ways probably to provide these content descriptions or text alternatives for this graph. One would be just to put all the data as a content description to the graph, but that's actually not a good idea, because then a user who is using screen reader would hear like all the data, they would need to listen to everything, and like it's not really like they probably wouldn't listen to all the data, because it would be like every year, every one of those 3 lines, and then the percentages, and it's like cognitively pretty hard to get the information from that. So what we are doing is that we are actually we are providing these content descriptions for each year there, and so that there is like basically the same information for each year that there was for that legend thing that you could see at the bottom right corner, right? And to be able to do that, we're gonna build this component that I'm gonna call highlighter, and it's gonna be an overlay on top of the graph, and it's gonna like provide focusable points on top of the graph so that the user can access that year and its data. And let's start defining it. So we're gonna create that composable and call it highlighter, and we're gonna pass some parameters to it, or some things to it. So first of all, width between points, which is a float. This is just something that we're gonna use for calculations, because the graph is made with canvas, and it's like the width between points or years, it's defined in pixels. So that's basically the value that we are passing down. We need it for the calculations. Then there are 3 lists that are type of point, which I'm going to show you in a bit. But these are for like data for all the lines that we've drawn to the graphs. So those like pixel points for total and engineering and ICT. And then we are passing down highlighted X. This could be also highlighted year, and it's a nullable float. So if there is a highlighted year, we are passing that year's X value as the currently highlighted X. And if there is like no year is highlighted, so selected basically, then it's null. And here is the data class point I mentioned. So it has a X and Y values that are used in the canvas, and for drawing in canvas, then it has the year and percentage also passed down, which are used in different places. And also we define a percentage string as a utility variable there. So there is the percentage as a like integer and with the percentage mark that has been used in the that legend on the like bottom right corner. So yeah, so that's the data class point. Then we start defining things inside the highlighter component, and we are wrapping everything with a box that fills max size. So it wraps basically the whole like canvas there. So it overlays that one. And then we calculate the width. I mentioned that we are using that for calculations later. So that's just something that, because we were passing it down as pixels, then now we need it as density independent pixels because we need to support different screen sizes or screen densities. So we are just converting that to density independent pixels. And then after that, we are mapping through the pixels there, or like the list of one of the list that was passed down. I'm using pixel points for total here. It could be any one of those because we just want the years basically, so we can map through the years there. But I think total makes most sense, so that's why I'm using it. And we are using here for each indexed for going through the list, because we need the index value later, because we need to access data from same index from the other lists. And then we also need the point so that we can actually do things for that 1 year. So the year highlighter, I'm gonna call it. All right. Then inside of that, like for each, we are doing more things. Let's go through them. So first of all, there is we need to know if the current year is highlighted. So basically, like if the current year is the one that is like, if it's the same as the highlighted X, so that like we can use that information for example, styling here. So we define is highlighted, and remember its default value is false. Then another variable that we need, or information we need, is the position. And here we have a pair of two values, and that's basically like the starting point and like start edge and end edge of this year highlighter. And that's something that we are going to use in the calculations. The default value is just like 0 and 0. I'm gonna show it in a bit how we are actually defining it, but that's something that we are using in the calculations. All right. Next thing here is that we want to check if nothing is highlighted. So if there is no year that is highlighted, we can safely assume that this particular year is not highlighted. So we are checking if highlighted X is null. And then if it is, then we are setting this is highlighted that we just defined to false. And then one more check is that if highlighted X is not null, so one of the years is highlighted, then we are checking if the highlighted X is in the bounds of this year highlighter, or like that, well, basically this year highlighter component. And the exact numbers or things here don't matter that much. It's just like calculations so that there is a bit of room for like for error. So but like the important thing here is that we are checking if the highlighted X is within certain boundaries that we've defined. So if the current year is highlighted, that is basically what we are trying to find here. And the highlighted X is controlled outside of this component. So there is that. Okay. Then when we have all the sort of data we need, we are going to define the actual year highlighter component. So this is basically like in the picture, you can see this white rectangle on the year 2019 wrapping things. So that's basically the component that we are defining here. And here are a couple of things that I want to mention. So other things are just to make it look like how it looks like in the picture, basically. But a couple of things I want to talk about is first the border. So we are defining the border to, well, highlight the currently highlighted year. There are lots of highlights in this talk. But yeah, so the border here. So if the current year is highlighted, so the thing that we defined in the previous step, we want to set the border color to be, well, in this case, it's material theme color scheme on background. So basically it's white in this app. But if it's not highlighted, we want to set it to transparent. So we are not removing the border if it's not highlighted. We are just setting the color to be transparent, so that to avoid a bit of like shifting there on the layout. So there's that. Another thing I want to highlight here, is on globally positioned modifier that we are using. This one is called when this element has been globally positioned. And we use that to set the actual values for that position variable or like state we defined in the previous slide. So basically, here we set the position to be a pair of two values. The first one would be the x value of the element, so element's position in parent, and then the second value would be that x value plus with it, so we get the start edge and end edge here. So yeah, that's what we do here. Okay. Now we have the highlighter component, and now we just need to add the content description there. So now we have a place where we can add it so that it can be added to each year. So first, we want to define that content description, and I'm calling it content disc here. And this is defined for each year or like each year highlighter. And here it's basically the same texts that are in the bottom right corners label. So there's year, then there are percentages for like total and or all, then engineering and ICT. And here for the all, we can use just the percentage string from the point that we are, because we are going through the list, that point that we have there, we can use it from there. But for pixel points for engineering and pixel points for ICT, we actually need to get the percentage string from the index that that was like passed down from the same index. So that way we get the like same content description as for the label there. Then there are just two more things we want to do here, and we want to add two modifiers to the individual year highlighters. Well, the box element that we are using. That, by the way, there was another element. This could be. It doesn't need to be box, but I'm a bit nervous and I can't remember what it was. But I will get back to that at some point. But yeah, the modifiers that we are adding here are first focusable, because we want to add this element to the focus order. So when user is navigating with a some sort of assistive technology that utilizes the focus order, then this one is added there. So like it's available for that technology. And the other thing is that we want to add semantics modifier. And we want to set the content description there. So the content description, we set the content desk that we just defined and in the previous slide. So if you can't set content description via attribute, you can use semantics modifiers content description. So that helps a lot with more complex graphics. All right. And here you can see that these years are now available. Okay. So yeah, as you could see in the previous video, I was hearing the sound in my like headphones, so that's why it was a bit hard to talk. But as you can see there, the orange thing could actually focus on these like year highlighters or like years there. And you might have noticed that actually it was not white, it was orange. That's because of like because of the accessibility focus, and I'm not going to go deeper into there, but we are using that white color in the next steps. And because we're gonna still add the keyboard interactions here, because even though right now the user can, like somebody who is using a keyboard for navigation can already like focus to each of these years, there's one thing: they can't see the label on the bottom right corner. And so, yeah, we need to give them that opportunity, because they don't, like, if they are not using some assistive technology like screen reader that has access to those content descriptions, they don't know them. Like, this is like, it's not visible for them anyway. So we need to actually make that piece of information visible for keyboard users as well. So not just those who use, for example, touch. So that's the final thing we are doing in this, in the context of this talk. So let's start by adding a new function to the highlighter component. So it's called set focus. It takes in a float and returns a unit. And where we are calling defining the highlighter component, we define a function that takes in that float, let's call it new x, and then we set the highlighted x to be new x. So this highlighted x was something that was handled outside of the scope of highlighter, and we are just using it. So we are setting the highlighted x to be that new x. Okay. Then inside the highlighter component, in the year highlighter, we add one more modifier that's called onFocusChanged. And this one is called every time when focus is changed. So like if user is using, for example, keyboard and they are navigating forward, every time when they press tab to go forward, this one is called. So that's why we want to check if this particular element is focused, and only then call this set focus function. So yeah, and we pass the points x value to the set focus, so that the new highlighted x will be the x of that point. Okay. So I'm going to play the video here. So now you can see this is me using keyboard or recording of it. The user who is using keyboard can move through the years there, and they can also see the label on the bottom right corner. All right. So these were the things that we want, I wanted to talk to you about and wanted to improve in the context of this talk. And I promised a link to the blog posts. So this one is a link to the latest one. I've written a series of blog posts around these graphs. There are now 4 blog posts. The first one is about adding those content descriptions. The second one is about keyboard interactions. Third one is about differentiating without color. And the last one, so where this link leads to, is about adding on-screen controls, and it also explains why it's important. So the URL is, the URL is tinyurl.com/android-graph-a11y. So yeah. Whew. All right. So thank you. My name is Panula, and if you want to find me, my website is eevis.codes, so eevis.codes, and all my contact information, links to my Mastodon and LinkedIn and whatever are there. So yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a really great talk, and I definitely learned a few things about how to make visualizations more accessible. So it does look like we have a couple questions in the chat. So I'll read those out. First one we have is, what library did you use to create the diagram? I think this is referring to the chart.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good idea to create a PR to add your highlighter to this library.
Yes, I did not use any like external library. I used Compose's canvas for that one, so it's all like built from the scratch. So yeah, like if it was like if I was using some sort of library, I definitely would agree. But maybe I will start doing that to some of those libraries out there.
Nice. That's really cool, Ben. Yeah, it seems like a lot of from the ground up work there. Cool. And another question here is, for the keyboard interaction, is it related to show event code in the Android key code event?
So like keyboard interactions, that's basically like some users might use keyboard or keyboard emulating devices for navigation. So like, for example, if they can't use their like hands for navigation and like touch input. So the way that I think most of us think about using a mobile devices, and then like this is about supporting like that interaction. So basically, like when somebody has it's usually like a physical keyboard when they are using that for navigation, and when they are doing that, it's usually when they navigate forward, they use tab, like going forward, and then selecting oh gosh, I'm blanking. It's either enter or space. Because like for web, it's enter and space that you can activate, but on Android, it's one of those. So yeah.
I see. Cool. Looks like that's the only questions we have. So yeah, thank you again. This is a really great talk, and thanks for sharing it with us all.
Yes, thank you. It was great to be here.